Oh, what is up, guys? Hope you're doing well and having an awesome day. So, Manchester City have lost again. They lost 2-1 to Aston Villa away from home today. The same scoreline they lost by last weekend. So, this now means that Manchester City have only won one in their last 12 games. Obviously, that win against Nottingham Forest was the only win they've had within the last 12 games that they played, including the game today. Yeah, things are looking quite worrying for Man City at the moment. I think it's fair to say that the title race is pretty much over for them this season. There's no way that they can win the league title this season. They're not strong enough to do that. It's done. The title race is done for City this season, and they're not going to be winning the Premier League title this season. It's definitely one of Liverpool, Chelsea, potentially, Arsenal at a push if they can try to, get some good form going and give it a little bit of a push. I think, a third place finish for Arsenal would be a bit disappointing considering the last two seasons they've managed to finish runners up to Man City. And maybe a lot of people thought that Arsenal would go one step further this season, but it hasn't quite worked out. I think there was I don't think anybody would have expected Man City to go on the run that they've kind of gone on, if you know what I mean. It's unbelievable to see Man City crumbling the way they are, and what they're really proving is that they are very much a one-man team. And that when you take that and when you take that player out of the team, they start crumbling. Rodri's injury has had a huge effect on Man City. It has had a big part to play in why City are falling apart. I don't know if that's the only reason, but we've not seen that spark from certain players recently. There's been having De Bruyne. And in Haaland, we've not really seen much of a spark in him. Jeremy Doku, Jack Grealish, as I mentioned, Phil Foden, if I've not mentioned him yet. Obviously Phil Foden scored today, but, we've not seen, there's just no energy. It feels like there's no energy in the City team. I do feel sorry for the Man City fans having to watch, these performances, having to watch their team go 1 win in 12 games. Like, when was the last time Man City did that? It's been a long time since we've seen a situation where Manchester City have gone 1 win in 12 games. I don't, they have to start making improvements. Did they think that really signing Ilkay Gundogan was going to really be beneficial? Because I don't even think that's really helped Man City much this season, the signing of Ilkay Gundogan. I think that was a bit of a dumb move there by Man City to bring him back to the club. I know that he's considered as a City legend, because he has been he has played a big part in some of City's title races. Obviously, he didn't play a part in he didn't have a part to play in last season's title race, but he has had a big part to play in the previous title races before that for Man City. So it's a bit of a frustrating situation for City, because they don't, it's just bad. The way they're playing is unbelievable. It's just horrendous. The way that they're playing, they should be playing so much better. The style of football that we're seeing from City at the moment is just unbelievable. For a team that the last two seasons have dominated the title race, to being a team that they've only managed 1 win in 12 games, that is unbelievable. It must be frustrating for the City fans. It must be frustrating for Pep as well, because even he'll be wondering what the hell's going on, and why his team are crumbling the way they are. But as I said, it's really shown how Manchester City are very much a one-man team, and how when that man is not in the team, they crumble. They really do crumble. And it's like you take Rodri out of that City team and you see just how much things change for Man City and how badly they start to crumble and fall. You know, with Man City, Man City with Rodri in the team are a very different looking Man City team. I think if they'd had Rodri in the last 12 games, results would have been probably would have been very different. I know for a fact that if Man City had been in better form, that result in the Manchester derby last weekend would have been very different. I know we would have walked up, we wouldn't have probably, if Man City were coming into that game on better form, we probably wouldn't have walked out of a win yet last weekend. We probably would have lost that game by 2 or 3 goals. But Man City, I'm not going to say that, I mean, maybe they are in it, right? Maybe it is more appropriate to say they are in a crisis at the moment, but, things need to improve, and I think we are seeing that. I think we are seeing that things drastically need to improve for Man City. They stand no chance of winning the Premier League title this season. They're not, they're definitely not in the title race anymore. The title race is done. There's no way they can overtake Liverpool. I can't see them doing that. Not on the run they're on at the moment. I think if this was a situation where Mikel Arteta had been in a run like this with Arsenal, he probably would have been sacked by now, to be fair. I don't think that Arsenal fans would have stood for going 1 win in 12 games. I think they would have been sacking Mikel Arteta by now if that was the case. But obviously Man City are in a bit of a tricky situation because they aren't really sack Pep, despite the fact they are on such a bad run at the moment. It's a tricky one for them. It's just like, what do they do? It's like, how do they resolve this issue? How do they, get back into a position where they're starting, where their form, will start to improve? Because their form does need to improve. And it's like, how do they do that? How do they improve their form? How do they get back into the position that they need to be? Because they should be in a much better position than what they're in. They are capable of being a dominant team. They can, if they needed to be, they can be a dominant team. I don't want to say that Man City have fallen away this season, but unfortunately they have kind of fallen away this season, and sadly things are not going to get any better for Man City this season. Things are not going to improve as much as fans want them to improve. They're not going to be getting any better anytime soon. It's really, it's unfortunate for the City fans because they don't deserve to see their team playing like this. When you think, how dominant Man City usually are. To go from a team that normally dominates in football to a team that is struggling for form, yikes. Really, how it shows, I think, with Man City this season, it's a case of how the mighty have fallen. I guess you could say, because the mighty really have fallen this season. Man City were a mighty team in the Premier League, and they really have fallen this season. And I mean, it's enjoyable to see. It's enjoyable to see a team that are usually so dominant on such a bad run of form. Purely if you don't really see it all that often, but when you do see it, it's enjoyable to watch. And I think a lot of people are probably laughing at City at the moment because they're on such a bad run. It is kind of hard not to laugh at them at the moment and not to take the piss out of Man City. The way, the fact that they've won one of their last 12 games. And as I said, if this was a run that Mikel Arteta was on with Arsenal, he probably would have been sacked by now. There was no way that Arsenal would have stood for Mikel Arteta going on a 1 win in 12 game run with Arsenal. He would have been sacked by now. He wouldn't still be in the job. He'd be long gone, realistically. So yeah, I mean, it's a tricky time for City. Hopefully things will improve before the end of the season, but I don't know if they will. But I'm sure that Man City fans will be hoping that they do improve. But, only time will tell just how much they do improve and just where they will be on the end of the season. Will they still be top 4 by the end of the season? Is that, could they fall further down? Maybe. They could very well do that, but I don't know. I mean, I can't see Man City not getting top four this season at least. If they don't finish in the top four this season, it would be an absolute shocker of a season to say the least. But as I said, really very good example of just how Man City are a one-man team. They are very much a one-man team, and that they lose that, but they lose that man, and they're done. They're screwed. The loss of Rodri to injury this season has screwed Man City for the rest of the season. It has fucked their season up completely. But they weren't looking too bad before Rodri got injured. But since Rodri got injured, City have not looked the same. They have looked completely different to the dominant team they usually are. Does that, the people not realize? People seriously not realize now that Man City are a one-man team? Have they not realized, just how reliant Man City are on that one man, that being Rodri? Because this is the thing, they are incredibly reliant on players like Rodri. Yeah, it's fair to say they shouldn't be so reliant on him, but it's very clear to see that they are reliant on him and that they need him more than they need him more than they realize. I think it's pretty much game over for City this season. There's no title race this season. The best that they could get this season potentially is the FA Cup, if they can even get that. Because they could very easily be knocked out and be one of the surprise exits this season in the FA Cup. Obviously they're out of the Carabao Cup, they're out of the Champions, they're not out of the Champions League yet. But they don't stand a very good chance of winning that this season. I really don't think they will. I really don't think they stand a chance of winning that. The Premier League title race is over, and it is basically done at this point for Man City. It's like, what else have they got for this season? They've got, at the start of the season, they had a chance of winning 3 trophies, and they've gone from having a chance of winning 3 trophies to now having a chance, 4 trophies at least, to now having a chance of only winning 1 trophy. That being the FA Cup. That's the only thing they've got left to try and win this season. That's the only thing they've got left to try and salvage something out of what's been, what's turned into an absolute crap season for City. They're out of the title race. They're not even close to, not even good enough to win the Champions League. They're out of the league. They're out of the Carabao Cup. They were knocked out literally in the third round. I think it was, or 4th round. It's just not going well for Man City this season, and I think it's only appropriate to say Man City are in a crisis, because I think they are. They're in a huge crisis at the moment. With regards to their recent form. They should. At the end of the day, if this was a dominant Man City team, they wouldn't have been losing 2-1 to Villa. Since when was the last time Man City would have picked up a result like that away at Villa? Aston Villa's form hasn't exactly been brilliant this season, but they still managed to walk away with a 2-1 win against Man City. Same with us. Our form the last a few months hasn't been spectacular, but we still managed to walk away with a 2-1 win at Man City because Man City are playing crap. If Man City were playing better and were actually picking up better results, we probably wouldn't have won that game. The same with Villa today. Had Man City been on better form going into today's game, Aston Villa probably wouldn't have stood a chance. But the only reason Aston Villa won today was the crap form City are in. That's why teams are picking up results that they wouldn't normally pick up. That's why the sort of teams that wouldn't normally be beating Man City are actually beating Man City because of the form they're in. That's the thing about this season, is the fact that teams that wouldn't normally beat Man City or wouldn't normally stand a chance of beating Man City are actually coming away with a result against Man City. You look at the other week in the Champions League, who won the full Feyenoord, would go to the Etihad and get a point, but they did. Man City were fucking 3-1 up in that game. They should have been walking away with a win. But what happened? They conceded 2 goals late in the game, and they shot themselves in the foot. They did it against us. They were 1-0 up into the last 5 minutes of the game. What do? Concede 2 late goals, shoot themselves in the foot again. They should have. This is the thing. They should have been. They should have beaten us last week. They were 1-0 up. They should have been walking away with a win. But they conceded 2 goals late on. You know, and this is unacceptable for a Man City team. You know, to be getting the game into the last 5 minutes and then just conceding 2 goals. Like, come on. You know, people actually wake up and realise that Man City are in a crisis this season. Because actually, they are in a crisis this season, and things are not going to get any better anytime soon. You know, I can't see how things are going to improve for Man City. They need to make some signings in January. They need to get a midfielder in January. You know, whilst Rodri's out injured, they need someone to replace him for a while. You know, I don't know who that somebody is, but someone needs to come into the club. They need to make signings. The only way they're going to improve, you know, that has to be said. You know, as I said, I do feel sorry for Man City. I can't help but feel sorry for Man City fans at the moment, because they shouldn't have to pay to watch their team picking up, such shite results. You know, they shouldn't have to, especially when their team have been in a title race the last two seasons. You know, you would have expected that again from Man City this season, but nope, not this season. Not going to happen for them this season. You know, they're not going to come away with a result now. They're done this season. You know, it's game over for them now. It's not going to happen. They're not going to come away with a win this time. That's all I can say. But, bad news for, it's a bad season for City. And one that we will enjoy for a long time, because it's not something we've seen for a few years now. I've not seen Man City in such a bad run of form. So, it is kind of fun to watch. But anyway, I'll see you for another video soon. I hope you've enjoyed this little review, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.